do you think that this digital identity is really going to stick long term? I mean, we're seeing it really happen on Twitter, but do you think more people will start adopting digital identities, and will those identities be fluid? Like, will we change what we look like online, or do you think we're going to start honing in on, like, your Roboto is your identity or your ape is your identity everywhere we go, or do you think it's going to be a little bit more fluid?
I I think this has been a great way to get started with NFTs, art and identity. It's just like a art makes sense. It's an image. It's the first way to put digital art in a way that is how are you calling it? Like that you can actually collect it. That it's not that it's a one out of one. That you can prove ownership. That you can prove that not there's just one of it, for example. So like which is something that you will enjoy in the physical world, right? So I think like starting with art, I think it made sense for NFTs to start that way, and I think
Yeah.
it also made sense to start with identity, right? Where it's like a having this NFT prove who you are or where you belong to, where it's like I belong to this community, and hence I my values are aligned with this. Hence my beliefs are like this, and my culture in a way it's I'm by being part of this community in a way I'm telling you like by being a mutant, for example, it's telling you a little bit of the things that I care. By being a roboto, it's telling you and having it as a profile pic or having it as on your Twitter like a identifier like
Yeah.
this is my NFT and I put it as a profile pic. uh, it tells other people like a little bit about you, a lot about you if you want to dig deeper, because like it's a huge thing, right? You're placing your photo, that selfie that you potentially took, and you're putting a random doodle from a different artist, but you're also saying at the same time, I care about this. I believe in this. So I think that will evolve into other things. Right now, it's just a JPEG, and I think the JPEG will evolve into other technologies, into other things that the NFT will support, and the NFT like technology will also support evolve. I think to support all other ways to identify yourself and say what the NFT tells about you. So I think yes, that will evolve, and I think it will remain. I don't think it will remain the way that we're seeing it right now. If you ask me 5 years from now, well, it might be something totally different, and we might see the JPEGs and all that just as the very early ways of using NFTs and art in that I don't know sense of identity, but. I think NFTs are not just that. NFTs, the promise of them is that they can be used for a lot of things. Just like
Mhm.
like if we're talking about Web3 and the metaverse and this idea of like a proven ownership and just like having digital assets being proved to be just like yours, or the idea that I own them, and by having ownership of this object, I can trade it, I can sell it, I can just like have it with myself. I think that's going to evolve to just like it's already evolving to not just PFPs and not just art one out of ones, but it's also like on redeemables or like a ways to just like a with this token is kind of like a ticket, like a this is a ticket that gets me access to this thing, or this is a membership that gets me access to this, which we have already been using the PFP as that, but I
Yeah.
think there's going to be we're already seeing evolutions of just instead of just a PFP, it's more of a card. It's more of a members club card or something.
Yeah, I think
That's one.
I
That's
think NFTs that you can attach data to is going to be very important. Like, I work for Unstoppable Domains. We work on NFT domains, and it's been really interesting to just learn how like you can start associating different pieces of Web3 data to an identity, and maybe that identity isn't your PFP. Just like I think your wallet isn't going to be the thing that you connect to every site. It's we're going to start evolving, and we started just connecting our wallets to sites. We started having our token be equal to our PFP, but I think I do agree that will change too.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing that is we're starting to see is just objects, digital objects. Right now, we've seen art as, like, for example, here in my bag, in my wall, I have a lot of art, and I own it. And you can see it's really easy for you to say, like, yeah, that's yours, and there's only one because it was hand painted. So I don't need to go into Etherscan to understand that that's a 1/1 and that you own it because it's in your house. But in the Web3 and the digital space, we need some way to just like identify what's yours, and from that, like, I can trade it and I can do whatever I want. And I think we have been using it on art, but I think later I can say that little furniture is mine, that I don't know, that rug, that plant, all the objects, digital objects are mine, and maybe I bought them, and now that I bought them, I can do whatever I want with them. And a clear example of this is we see it on Web2 games, just games, the gaming industry. Like, gamers have spent billions of dollars a year on virtual goods. Like, that is already happening, but users don't really own those objects. The company does, because it's Web2, it's hosted over there. It's not like you, for example, a really clear example that I think anyone can understand, it's buying a digital book, for example. Like, let's go back to the physical way of doing it, right? You go to a library and you go around and you buy a book. Maybe you buy a book because of its cover. It's like, oh, I suppose this is going to be good because it has a good cover. You go, you buy it, and you're like excited. I'm going to go to the park, or maybe to house to just like read it. I don't know, maybe to a coffee shop just to look smart, and in the coffee shop, just like, hey, maybe I'll be reading, and other people, oh, that's a smart person. But imagine if in the bookstore, as soon as you want to get out, they will tell you like, hey, where are you going? You cannot go out with that book. Wait, but I just bought it. Oh, yeah. You bought it here, and you have to read it here. You can only read it here. Hey, but I want to go read it in the park, and I want to go read it in the coffee shop. Oh, I mean, no. We have a coffee shop here. You can just read it here. So it's not suddenly that book. You cannot do anything with it unless you are inside their ecosystem, unless you're in their app, unless you are inside that place. Unless it's a PDF, but who wants to read a PDF when you want that really easy way of reading a book that is like a digital form? But now you cannot do it because you don't really own it. You
want your assets to be able to be taken with you to the different digital places that you hang out. And right now, the assets are stuck within certain environments. It's a certain website that has a database associated with it. And these NFTs allow we talk about composability a lot on the podcast, and they allow you to take an in-game asset with you throughout the entire ecosystem instead of just being stuck on like one spot.
You're listening to the Unstoppable Podcast, the go-to place for everyone to learn about the latest innovations in Web3, NFTs, and the decentralized web. Welcome to the metaverse.